At the dinner table, in front of her friends, my daughter whispered to me, "Dad, you're my stress. You're leaving tomorrow." I didn't ask for an explanation. I didn't cry. I just went upstairs, packed 2 changes of clothes in a grocery bag, and left. At 11 o'clock at night, 79 years old and without a home, she thought she had destroyed me. But she didn't know what I was hiding on the other side of Los Angeles, nor how much that night would change everything forever. If this story moves you, subscribe. Every day, there is a story that could be yours. Tell us where you are watching from. My name is Robert Sanchez Calderon. I am 79 years old. I am a widower. I was a history teacher for 42 years. And that night, sitting at my daughter Audrey's dining table, I understood that my life no longer mattered to anyone. It was Saturday. She had invited 6 people from her work. People who talked about 5-star hotels, foreign clients, and promotions. I was there because she ordered me to be that morning. "Dad, if you come downstairs, don't talk. Just serve yourself and be quiet." I didn't ask why. I didn't ask anything anymore. Since Helen, my wife, died, I learned that it's better to be quiet than to bother anyone. I put on a clean shirt, I combed my hair, I went downstairs, and I sat at the end of the table where no one had to look at me, where I could make myself invisible, because that was what Audrey wanted. For me to disappear without actually disappearing. The table smelled of expensive perfume and red wine. Audrey had brought out the good china, the set she had been saving since her wedding. There were candles, soft music, everything prepared to impress. I served myself a little salad. I chewed slowly, trying not to make a sound, trying not to bother them with the noise of my existence. Next to me was Kate, the neighbor from the 4th floor. That woman who always looked at me with feigned pity. "Mr. Robert, how are you doing?" she asked, with that sweet voice people use when they don't care about the answer. "Fine, thank you," I said. She smiled and went back to talking with the others. No one else spoke a word to me. It was as if I were an old painting hanging on the wall. I was there, but no one noticed me. No one wanted to see me. I was just taking up space. And that was exactly what I was to Audrey. Space occupied. Audrey laughed a lot that night. Too much. I knew her. I knew that when she laughed like that, forced, it was because she was on the verge of collapsing. That afternoon, her ex-husband Michael had called her asking for money again. I heard it from my room. "I don't have anything to give you, Michael. Leave me alone." She hung up and stood in the hallway, breathing heavily, with her hands clenched. I came out to ask her if she was okay. She looked at me as if I had interrupted something sacred, as if my presence were an invasion. "Dad, go back to your room. Go back to your..." I didn't say anything. I just went back. I closed the door, and I sat on the bed, staring at the wall, wondering when I had stopped being her father and become her burden. Was it when Helen died? Or was it before? Was it gradual? Or was there a specific day when I stopped mattering to her? I didn't know. I only knew that it hurt. It hurt like it hurts to feel invisible in your own family. During dinner, one of the guests told a joke about an old man who got lost in the supermarket. Everyone laughed. I smiled too, although I didn't understand the punchline. Although I knew the joke was about people like me. Old people. Obstacles. Confused. Audrey refilled her wine glass for the 3rd time. Her hands were shaking a little. Kate leaned toward her and said, in a low but audible voice, "Oh, Audrey, it must be exhausting having your dad at home all day. I sent my mom to a home years ago. It was the best thing for everyone." Audrey didn't answer. She just nodded slightly, like someone receiving advice she had already considered, like someone who had already researched options. I squeezed the fork. I felt something hot rise in my chest, a mix of anger and shame. But I didn't say anything, because I knew that if I spoke, she would silence me in front of everyone, and that humiliation would have been worse than the silence. Then the time came. After dinner conversation, someone had brought pie. Audrey served. I didn't want any. "I'm not hungry," I said. She didn't even look at me. She just left the plate in front of me and kept talking to her guests as if I hadn't spoken, as if I didn't exist. I drank a sip of wine. It was lukewarm, bitter. I looked toward the hallway, looking for Lucy. My granddaughter hadn't come down. Again. Every time Audrey had people over, Lucy locked herself in her room, and I knew why. Because my granddaughter hated those fake gatherings. Because she was the only one in that house who still looked me in the eye, who still asked me how I was, who still hugged me when I came back from the store. But that night, not even Lucy came down, and that hurt me more than everything else. Because it meant that Audrey was also pushing her away from me, little by little, with orders disguised as suggestions. I looked at my plate, the pie untouched, and I remembered. Audrey was 7 years old. We had come to this table. Helen had made her birthday cake, chocolate, her favorite. Audrey blew out the candles. She made 3 wishes, and then she ran to me. "Daddy, make a wish with me." And I wished. "May you always be happy, my love." She smiled. She hugged me with those small arms that barely wrapped around my neck. And she said, "I just want you to always be with me. Always, Daddy. Forever." I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath, and I returned to the present, to this table, where that same girl, now a 43-year-old woman, had just told me I was in the way. To leave. Tomorrow. Like someone asking for the trash to be taken out. And I wondered, when did that girl break? Or was I the one who broke? Audrey got up to pour herself more wine. When she came back, she leaned toward me. I looked up. Her eyes were red, bright, tired, glassy from the alcohol and from something else, from years of accumulated resentment. She stared at me, and she said in a low but clear voice, with that coldness that is only learned with practice, "Dad, you're my stress. You're leaving tomorrow." Some of the guests heard her. One laughed nervously, not knowing if it was a joke. Another coughed and looked away, uncomfortable. Kate raised her eyebrows with a knowing smile, as if to say, it was about time. Well done. I stayed still, the fork still in my hand, the wine half drunk, my heart beating slowly as if it also wanted to give up. I didn't ask where. I didn't ask for an explanation. I didn't beg because I understood. There were no more explanations. There was only exhaustion. There was only rejection. There was only that sentence that broke me in 2 parts, and which finally showed me what I had always feared. That my daughter no longer loved me. Maybe she never did. I finished chewing, slowly, calmly, as if nothing had happened. I put the fork on the plate without making a sound. I wiped my mouth with the napkin. I folded it. I left it next to the plate. I got up slowly. My knees cracked. No one looked at me. Everyone kept talking, laughing, drinking, as if I wasn't there anymore, as if I had already left. I pushed the chair in carefully, without making a sound, because even in my exit, I wanted to be invisible, not to bother, not to inconvenience. I walked toward the stairs, and as I went up, holding the railing because my legs no longer responded as they used to, I thought, this is the last time I go up these stairs, the last time I hear the laughter of her guests. The last time I smelled the expensive perfume of this house. Because I knew that if I left, I wasn't coming back. Because I knew that my daughter wasn't kicking me out for a few days. She was erasing me from her life, and I, for the first time in 3 years, was not going to beg her to let me stay. This time I was going to leave before she officially threw me out. This time I was going to leave with the little I had left. Dignity. I went into my room, that room that used to be the storage space. The room for things that are no longer useful. That's where Audrey kept the Christmas boxes, the old suitcases, the things she no longer used. And then she stored me, among the boxes, among the forgotten things. I opened the closet. I took out a grocery bag, one of those green plastic ones you save just in case. I put in 2 pairs of pants, 3 shirts, underwear, my blood pressure pills, my ID, my notebook where I wrote down important things I didn't want to forget. Because at 79 years old, you start to forget. And I didn't want to forget who I had been. And a photo of Helen. The photo was from 50 years ago. We were on the beach. She was smiling. Me too. We looked immortal. We looked invincible. It seemed like nothing could separate us. But it did separate us. Death. And then, loneliness. I looked at her for a moment. I touched her face with my finger. "What do I do, my love?" I asked softly. "Where do I go?" She didn't answer. She never answered. She only looked at me. With that eternal smile, with that frozen youth, I put the photo away. I closed the bag. I put on my coat, the same one I wore when I went to work, when I was still someone. And I left. I went down the stairs. Each step creaked, as if the house was also saying goodbye. I walked past the living room. The guests were still there, talking, laughing. Someone was telling a joke. Everyone laughed. Audrey was turned around, pouring coffee. She was wearing the black dress that Helen had given her. The last gift. And she didn't even know it. No one saw me. Or maybe they saw me and didn't care. Or maybe they were glad. Finally, the old man is leaving. I opened the apartment door. The hallway was empty, lit by those buzzing white lights that never turn off, that illuminate but don't warm. I closed the door slowly. Without a slam, without drama, like someone closing a chapter that no longer makes sense to read. Like someone closing a book that ended badly. I walked toward the elevator. I pressed the button. I waited. I heard the laughter behind the door, getting further and further away. The elevator doors opened. I got in. I saw my reflection in the metal. An old man with slumped shoulders, wet eyes, a bag in his hand. A man who no longer had a home. The doors closed. I went down. And with every floor that passed, I felt like I was leaving behind not just an apartment. I was leaving behind an entire life. A daughter, a hope, a love that was never returned. When I left the building, the cold air hit my face. Like a slap, like a reminder that the world outside was not going to be kinder than the world inside. Nathan, the neighbor from the second floor, was smoking by the door. He was a 64-year-old man, an ex-military, one of those who talks little but sees everything, who doesn't ask but understands. He looked at me. I looked back. He put out his cigarette against the wall, calmly, like someone who has all the time in the world. He nodded, slowly, respectfully. He didn't say anything. It wasn't necessary, because in that gesture was everything. I know what happened. I heard, I saw, and I don't blame you, and if I could, I would help you. But I can't. I can only watch you leave and wish you luck. I nodded too. I returned the gesture, as if saying, "Thank you for seeing me, for not judging me, for not laughing." And I kept walking. The street was empty. It was cold. The wind moved the dry leaves. They made a noise, like whispers, like voices telling me, there's no going back. I pressed the bag against my chest, and I walked, without looking back, because I knew that if I looked, maybe I would regret it. Maybe I would come back. Maybe I would beg. And there was no more time for regrets. There was no more space for humiliation. I walked 2 blocks to the bus stop. 2 blocks that felt like 2 miles. Because every step hurt. Not in my legs, in my soul. There was a frozen metal bench. I sat down. The cold went right through my coat. The wind whistled between the buildings, like a lament, like a sad song that no one wanted to hear. A taxi passed, free, with the light on. I didn't call it. I didn't have the money to waste on taxis. And besides, why? I wasn't in a hurry. I didn't have a destination. I only had an address, a name, a hope. A young couple passed, embracing, laughing. He was whispering something in her ear. She laughed. They were kissing. I looked away, not out of envy, out of pain, because I remembered when I embraced Helen like that, when we walked down the street holding hands, when we were still happy, when I still mattered, when we still had a future. Now, I didn't matter anymore. Now, the future was over. Now, I was an old man sitting on a bench, with a grocery bag, waiting for a bus that would take me nowhere. Or maybe somewhere. I didn't know yet. And while I waited, I wondered, where does a man go when he no longer has a home? Where does he go when his own daughter tells him he is a burden? The bus arrived at 11 o'clock and 32 minutes, line 47. I know because I looked at the clock on the pole 3 times. As if looking at the clock could stop time, as if it could delay the inevitable. That bus crossed the whole city, from downtown Los Angeles to New Hope, the neighborhood where I lived more than 40 years ago, when I was still young, when I still had a future, when Helen and I had just gotten married and everything was possible. I got on slowly. My knees no longer responded as they used to. Every step was an effort, a negotiation with a body that no longer obeyed me. I grabbed the handrail, hard, because I was afraid of falling, and even more afraid that no one would pick me up. The driver looked up. He was a man about 50 years old, with a thick mustache and a worn blue uniform. He stared at me. He frowned, as if trying to place me. And then his eyes widened. "Mr. Robert?" I looked at him. It took me a second. Paul Martinez, my student, 30 years ago. He sat in the back. He drew in the margins of his notebooks, maps, battles, ancient cities. But he was smart, very smart. One of those students you never forget. "It's me, Mr. Robert." "I can't believe it's you." His voice held surprise, and something else. Concern, tenderness. Like someone who sees an old friend who is in a bad way. He looked at the bag in my hand, the green, cheap grocery bag. He looked at my face, my swollen eyes, my wrinkled clothes, my old coat, and he understood. I didn't ask how. Sometimes people just know. They just know. Because pain is visible. It can be smelled. It can be felt. "Get on, Mr. Robert, and put your money away. You're not paying me." I tried to protest, to take out my wallet, to do the right thing. "No, Paul, He raised his hand, firmly. "You taught me how to read maps. You taught me that history isn't just dates. It's people. People who suffer, people who fight, people like you. This is the least I can do. Please, let me do this." I nodded. My chin was trembling. I felt like I was going to cry, but I held it back. Because you don't cry on the bus. You don't cry in front of strangers. Although Paul was no longer a stranger, he was a reminder of when I still mattered. when I was still someone. I walked to the back. Slowly, holding onto the seats, I sat in the last seat, next to the window. I put the bag on my lap. I hugged it, as if it were the only thing I had left in the world, because it was the only thing I had left. Paul started the bus. The engine roared, and I looked out the window, watching the city pass, watching my life pass. The city passed slowly. Tall buildings with dark windows, lives lit behind closed curtains, people having dinner, watching television, laughing, living. Businesses closed with metal gates, graffiti on the walls, trash in the corners, empty streets lit by orange streetlights that flickered, about to go out, like me. I recognized some corners. The bakery where Helen used to buy bread on Sundays. Closed now, with a for sale sign. The park where I used to take Audrey when she was a child. Dark, empty, with rusted playground equipment. Other corners I didn't recognize. Everything had changed. New buildings where there used to be houses, parking lots where there used to be squares. Or maybe I was the one who no longer belonged, the one who was trapped in another time. I looked at my reflection in the glass. A wrinkled old man, with tired eyes. 2 days' growth of beard, messy hair. When did I get so old? I don't know. You don't realize it. It's gradual. One day you wake up, look in the mirror, and see your father. And then you understand. You've already crossed to the other side. You are already the old man that people avoid on the bus. The one who smells like medicine. The one who coughs too much. The one who talks to himself. You are already the one who bothers them just by existing. The one who is in the way. The bus stopped. Squealing brakes. Doors opening with a tired sigh. A young woman got on with a sleeping baby in her arms. She must have been about 25 years old. Hair tied back, tired face, simple clothes. She sat in the front. The baby didn't wake up. Its mouth was open, its little hands clenched. The woman rocked it gently, with that tenderness that only mothers have. That automatic movement, unconscious. That pure love that asks for nothing in return. I looked at her, and I felt a sharp pain in my chest, a physical pain. Real. Because I remembered when Audrey was like that. Small, defenseless, perfect. When she needed me for everything. To eat, to sleep, to laugh. When I was her hero, her whole world. Daddy, carry me. Daddy, tell me a story. Daddy, I'm scared. Don't leave. And I never left. I stayed next to her bed until she fell asleep. I sang her songs. I made up stories for her. When did she stop needing me? When did I go from being her hero to being her burden? Was it when she grew up? Was it when she got married? Was it when Lucy was born? Or was it when Helen died and there was no one left to remind her that I deserved love too? The bus started. The woman got off 3 stops later. The baby was still asleep. And I continued looking out the window, watching my life pass. Watching everything I lost pass. Paul watched me through the rearview mirror. I saw him. Our eyes met every now and then. He would look away. I would too. But we both knew. He knew he wanted to ask. He wanted to know what an old man like me was doing, alone, with a grocery bag, at 11 o'clock at night. He wanted to know if I was okay, if I had somewhere to go, if I needed help. But he didn't ask. And I thanked him in silence, with every mile that passed. Because there are questions that open wounds, that force you to say out loud what you can barely think, and mine were still fresh. They were still bleeding. They still hurt with every breath. The bus continued its route. Slow, tired, like me, we passed through wide avenues, deserted. Through neighborhoods I used to know, where I had lived, where I had worked, where I had been happy, through places where I was no longer welcome, where I no longer belonged. And then we arrived at St. Vincent's Hospital, that white building that took everything from me. That's where Helen had died. 3 years ago. 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days. But who's counting? And I, instinctively, closed my eyes, squeezing them, as if that could erase the image, as if that could erase the memory. I didn't want to see. I didn't want to remember. But I couldn't help it. The hospital was still there, white, cold, imposing, with that red cross on the facade that promised salvation, but only delivered goodbyes. Helen had died on the 3rd floor, room 312. I knew the number by heart, just as I knew her date of birth, her favorite meal, the perfume she wore. Pancreatic cancer, fast, brutal, without mercy. They gave her 6 months. She lived 4, and each day was worse than the last. The last days she no longer spoke. She only looked at me, with those eyes that said everything she could no longer say with words. I love you. Forgive me. Take care. Don't forget me. And I held her hand, thin, cold, transparent. I told her she was going to be fine, that we were going to get through this together, that the medicine was going to work, that God was going to perform a miracle. But we both knew the truth. We both knew it was a lie, that we only had hours left, minutes, seconds. And when she closed her eyes for the last time, when her hand went limp in mine, when the monitor stopped making noise and only that long, constant beep remained, I stayed there, sitting by her bed, not knowing how to go on, not knowing what to go on for. Because Helen was not just my wife, she was my reason, my compass, my home. And without her, I was just a man waiting to die, waiting to be called, waiting to reunite with her. I opened my eyes when the bus passed the hospital. I took a deep breath. The air burned my lungs. Paul looked at me through the mirror. This time he didn't look away. He held my gaze, with those eyes that understood, that knew, that didn't judge. And in that silence, in that silent exchange, I understood. He knew. He knew something bad had happened. He knew I was running away. He knew I was broken. But he didn't judge. He didn't feel pity. He just drove. He just took me. He just gave me space to breathe. And that, in some strange way, in a way I cannot explain, gave me strength to continue. Not to give up. Not to throw myself off the moving bus and let myself die in the street. The bus kept moving forward. We passed through neighborhoods I no longer recognized. New buildings where there used to be humble homes. Giant supermarkets where there used to be corner stores with owners who knew you by name. Everything different. Everything foreign. Everything hostile. As if the city were telling me, you don't belong here anymore. Your time has passed. There is no longer a place for you. At one stop, a child got on with his grandfather. The boy must have been about 8 years old. Messy hair, backpack with wheels. The grandfather must have been about 70. White hair, cane, plaid shirt. The boy held his hand, tightly, like someone who doesn't want to let go. He helped him up. Slowly, Grandpa, one step at a time. He looked for a seat for him. Sit here. This is the best one. And the grandfather smiled. Grateful, loved, needed. I looked at them, and I felt a pang in my chest that almost doubled me over. Because I had been that grandfather too. Lucy held my hand. She waited for me after school. She ran to me shouting, "Grandpa!" She asked me things. "Grandpa, why is the sky blue? Grandpa, when are we going to the park? "Grandpa, do you love me?" And I always answered, "More than anything in the world." My love. When did she stop doing it? When did she stop waiting for me? When did she stop running to me? Or was it Audrey who pushed her away from me? Who told her not to look for me? Who told her I was a burden? I didn't know. I only knew that the last time Lucy hugged me was months ago. 4 months and change. And that I missed those hugs more than I could admit, more than I could bear. The boy and his grandfather got off 2 stops later. The boy helped him down. "Be careful, Grandpa." And I stayed there, watching them walk away. Wishing I was that grandfather. Wishing I had a grandchild who loved me, who took care of me, who needed me. The journey lasted 53 minutes. I know because I counted every minute, watching the bus clock, watching the numbers change, because every minute that passed was a minute further from Audrey, a minute further from that table where they told me I was in the way, a minute closer to... I didn't know. I only knew that I had to get away. The bus was emptying out. The woman with the baby got off. A group of young people, too, noisy, laughing, smelling of alcohol and cheap perfume. A drunk man who got on halfway through, staggering, talking to himself. In the end, it was just me and Paul, alone in that empty bus crossing the sleeping city. He slowed down, slower than usual, as if giving me time, as if waiting for me to change my mind. He looked in the mirror. "Mr. Robert, are you sure you're going to be okay?" His voice held genuine concern. Real, not feigned. I nodded. I tried to smile, but it didn't come out. "Yes, Paul, thank you. Thank you for everything." He didn't seem convinced. He looked at me like someone looking at someone who is about to do something irreversible. But he didn't insist. He just kept driving, slowly, until the end, until the last stop, until the end of the line, until the end of the city, until where maybe my new life was beginning, or where the one I had was ending. New hope. Last stop. Paul's voice sounded tired, hoarse, as if he too was reaching the end of something. He stopped the bus. The engine shut off. The silence was deafening. I got up slowly, holding onto the seat in front of me. My knees cracked. They protested. They hurt. Everything hurt. I walked toward the door. Every step was an effort. Paul turned in his seat. He looked at me, with those eyes full of something I couldn't identify. Pity, respect, fear. "Mr. Robert, my number is on the company sign. If you need anything, anything at all, call me, anytime. Seriously." I nodded. I wanted to say something. I wanted to thank him. I wanted to tell him he had been a good student, that I remembered him, that I was glad to see him doing well. But the words didn't come out. They got stuck in my throat. I just nodded again, like a fool, like an old man who no longer knows how to speak. And I got off. The cold of the night hit my face. Like a punch, the bus started behind me. I heard the engine moving away. I saw the red lights fade away, like 2 red eyes watching me. And then I was left alone, in the middle of an empty street, dark, cold, with a bag in my hand and nowhere to go, except one place. The only place where maybe I still mattered. The only place where maybe someone still remembered me. New Hope. The neighborhood of my youth. Of when everything was possible. Of when I still had dreams. Uneven cobblestone streets that made you trip. Old streetlights that still worked with yellow, weak, flickering light. Low houses with rusty gates. Neglected gardens. Dogs barking. It smelled like bread. freshly baked bread, that unmistakable smell that takes you back to childhood. And then I remembered. Betty, St. Joseph's Bakery, where Helen used to buy bread every Sunday. And if Betty was still there, then Oliver must be too. Oliver Serrano, my best friend since I was 17 years old, since we were young and stupid and thought we were immortal. We had lost touch 8 years ago, when I moved in with Audrey, when I thought it was the right thing to do, when I still believed my daughter needed me, when I still believed that family was forever. But Oliver lived here, in the house with the blue door, house number 47. I knew because I once lived 3 blocks away, in a house that no longer exists, that they tore down to make a parking lot. I walked, slowly, dragging my feet, clinging to the bag as if it were a lifeline. The streets were dark, empty. All I could hear was the wind and my steps and my breathing. But I knew them by heart, every corner, every tree, every crack in the pavement. Because here I had been happy, here I had been young, here maybe I could be someone again. I arrived at the house, faded blue door, more blue in my memory than in reality, peeling paint falling off in pieces, windows with white curtains, yellowed with time, light on inside. Someone was awake. Someone lived there. I took a deep breath. The air burned my lungs. I raised my hand. It was shaking. And I knocked. Once. Softly. Almost inaudible. I waited. Nothing. I knocked again. Harder. 2 dry knocks that echoed in the night. Silence. And then I heard slow steps. Dragging. Someone who walked with difficulty. Someone old. Like me. The door opened. Slowly. Creaking. And there he was. Oliver. 81 years old. 2 years older than me. But he looked 100. White hair. Whiter than I remembered. Thick glasses. Old blue striped pajamas. Worn out. With holes. He looked at me, squinting his eyes. It took 3 seconds, maybe 4, as if trying to place me, as if checking his memory. And then he recognized me. His eyes opened wide, his mouth too. But he didn't say anything. He didn't ask anything. He didn't say, "What are you doing here?" He didn't say, "What happened?" He didn't say, "Are you okay?" He just opened the door wider, with that universal gesture of welcome, of acceptance, of brotherhood. "Come in." It wasn't a question. It was an order full of understanding, of love, of that which only old friends understand without the need for words. I entered. I crossed the threshold, and it was like crossing from one world to another, from darkness to light, from cold to warmth, from loneliness to company. Oliver closed the door behind me, carefully, like closing the door to the past, like protecting the present. And for the first time in 3 years, since Helen died, I felt like I had come home. To a place where I didn't have to apologize for existing, to a place where I still mattered, to a place where, maybe, I could live again. Oliver closed the door behind me. He didn't say anything. He just walked toward the kitchen. I stood in the entryway, holding the bag, not knowing what to do. The house smelled old, of medicine, of stopped time. Everything was the same as it was 40 years ago. The dark wood table, the pendulum clock that no longer worked, the painting of the Virgin Mary on the wall. But there was something new, something that wasn't there before. On the table, next to a glass of water, there was a bottle of pills. Morphine. I recognized it because Helen took them at the end. Oliver came back with 2 steaming cups, chamomile tea. "Sit down." His voice sounded tired, more tired than I remembered. I sat down. Oliver sat across from me, with difficulty. I saw him grab the edge of the table, how he winced in pain. "Are you okay?" I asked. He nodded, but he didn't convince me. "Oliver, those pills..." He looked down. He sighed. "Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. I have 3 months left, maybe 4 if I'm lucky." I felt like I had been punched in the chest. "What?" My voice came out broken. Oliver took a sip of tea. "They diagnosed me 6 months ago. I didn't want to tell anyone. What for? There's nothing left to do." I was speechless, looking at him, and then I understood. My only friend was also dying, and I didn't even know it. I kept looking at him. Oliver, my friend, the one who taught me to play chess when we were 17, the one who was with me the day I got married, the one who cried with me when Helen died. And now he was telling me he was dying, and I hadn't been there. I hadn't known. I hadn't been able to say goodbye. "Oliver, forgive me." He shook his head. "There's nothing to forgive. You should have been here. You are now. And that's all that matters." I wiped my eyes, but the tears kept coming. Because I was losing everything: Helen, Audrey, Oliver, and I didn't know how to keep losing and keep standing. "Why didn't you call me?" I asked, with anger and pain mixed. Oliver looked at me. "I called your house 4 months ago," Audrey answered. "I told her I needed to talk to you, that it was urgent." He stopped. He took a breath. "She told me, Oliver, my dad can't hang out with old friends anymore. He's losing his mind. If you call again, I'm going to report you for harassment." I felt something break inside me. "What?" Oliver nodded. "I asked her to tell you I had called." She laughed and hung up. I put my hands over my face. I couldn't breathe. Audrey had not only humiliated me, she had also cut off my last tie to the world, to my past, to my life. I tried to call 2 more times. She always answered. The 3rd time, she threatened to block the number. Oliver put his cup on the table. His hands were shaking. "Robert, your daughter didn't just kick you out of her house. She erased you from your life." And then something inside me exploded. I stood up quickly. The chair fell backward. "She didn't have the right," I shouted. My voice sounded hoarse, desperate. "I took care of her. I gave her everything." Oliver didn't say anything. He just looked at me, with that look that people who understand pain have because they have lived it too. I walked in circles, my hands on my head, breathing heavily. Why? Why did she do this to me? Oliver got up slowly. He came toward me. He put a hand on my shoulder. "Because tired people become cruel, Robert, and your daughter is tired. But that doesn't justify anything." I shook my head. I never hurt her. I never asked her for anything." Oliver squeezed my shoulder. "I know. But sometimes people don't need reasons to reject you. They just need space, and you were taking up that space." I felt the tears running down, hot, angry. "Helen was right," I murmured. Oliver frowned. "What?" "My wife, before she died, told me. Audrey is afraid of getting old, and that's why someday she's going to be afraid of you." I didn't believe her. I thought it was the pain talking, but she was right. Oliver let go of me. He sat down again. "Robert, there's something else you need to know." I looked at him. What else could there be? He took a deep breath. "My kids don't talk to me either. I haven't heard from them in 3 years. When I told them I had cancer, they told me about, 'Dad, you're old now. It's natural. Don't call us anymore with those dramas. I felt a lump in my throat. Oliver. He raised his hand. Don't pity me. I'm telling you this because you need to know something. You are not alone. There are thousands of old people like us. Kicked out, forgotten, waiting to die without bothering anyone. And at that moment, in that old kitchen with that dying friend, I understood the most painful truth of all. Getting old is becoming invisible. I dropped into the chair, put my hands on the table, and cried. Not with silent tears. I cried with sobs, with groans, with my mouth open and my chest shaking. I cried for Audrey, for Oliver, for Helen, for me, for all the old people in the world who die alone, feeling like burdens. Oliver didn't comfort me. He didn't tell me everything was going to be okay. He just sat there, facing me, waiting. Because sometimes the best company is silence. And when I finally stopped crying, when I had no tears left, Oliver said, "There's a bed in the back room. The sheets are clean. Sleep. We'll continue tomorrow." I got up as best I could. I grabbed the bag. I walked toward the back room. It was small. A bed, a wardrobe, a window. I sat on the bed. The springs creaked. I looked at the ceiling. There were damp stains, a crack. And then I thought, what's the point of continuing? Why wake up tomorrow if no one cares about me? If my own daughter hates me? If my best friend is dying? If my wife is dead? What for? I lay down. I closed my eyes. And I wished not to wake up. I wished that sleep would take everything away, the pain, the shame, the loneliness. But it didn't happen. I just slept. And I dreamed of Helen, of when we were still young, when we were still happy. I woke up with a start. I don't know what time it was. It was dark. I heard a noise, a thud. It came from the living room. I got up. I left the room. Oliver was on the floor. He had tripped. He was trying to get up but couldn't. "Oliver!" I ran to him. I helped him up. He weighed little. Too little. "I'm fine," he murmured. But he wasn't fine. He was shaking, sweating. I took him to the sofa. I sat him down. "Does it hurt?" He nodded. "It always hurts." I went for the pills. I gave them to him with water. I waited. Little by little, the shaking stopped. Oliver took a deep breath. "Thank you." I shook my head. "Don't thank me. You opened the door for me when no one else did." We stayed there, in silence. Oliver on the sofa, I sitting on the floor next to him. And then he said, "Robert, don't give up." I looked at him. "Why not?" He smiled, a sad smile. "Because giving up is agreeing with those who kicked you out. It's telling them, you were right. I'm worthless." I swallowed. "But what if it's true? What if I really am worthless?" Oliver looked at me fixedly. "You are worthy. You are worthy because you are here. Because you helped me get up. Because you still cry. Those who are worthless no longer feel. You still feel. And that means you are still alive." I didn't answer, but his words stayed with me. Like a seed planted in dry earth, I went back to the room. I lay down again. But this time I didn't wish to die. I only wished to wake up and find a reason to continue. A reason that wasn't Audrey or Helen or the past, a new reason. A reason of my own. I closed my eyes and I slept deeply, without dreams, and when I woke up there was light, and Oliver was alive, and so was I. And that, for now, was enough. I woke up with the sun in my face. Everything hurt, my back, my knees, my soul. But I was alive. I got up. I went to the bathroom. I washed my face with cold water. I looked in the mirror. I was still an old man. But I no longer looked like a defeated old man, just tired. I left the room. Oliver was already awake. He was in the kitchen, making coffee. He moved slowly, holding on to the furniture. "Good morning," I said. He turned around. He smiled. "Good morning. Did you sleep?" I nodded. "Better than I expected." He poured 2 cups. "Good. Today we're going to the bakery. I need bread, and you need some air." I didn't argue. I just nodded. Because he was right. We had breakfast in silence. Toast with butter, black coffee, simple, perfect. When we finished, Oliver got up. "Let's go." We went out. The street was quiet. The sun was still low. It was cool. We walked 3 blocks, Oliver with his cane, I next to him, watching in case he stumbled. We reached the bakery. "St. Joseph's Bakery." The sign was worn out. We went in, and there was Betty, a woman about 60 years old, with a white apron and a warm smile. She saw us come in, and she froze. "Mr. Robert?" Her voice held surprise, disbelief, and something else. Something I didn't know how to identify at that moment, but which I later understood. It was pity. "It's me, Betty," I said. She came closer, but she didn't hug me as I expected. She just looked me up and down. "What are you doing here?" Her tone was strange, careful, like someone walking on broken glass. "He's staying with me for a few days," Oliver interjected. Betty nodded slowly. She kept looking at me, and then she said, "Mr. Robert, does your daughter know you're here?" "No." "Why?" Betty exchanged a look with Oliver. "She came here about 2 years ago. She asked about you. I told her I hadn't seen you." I frowned. "Audrey came here?" Betty nodded. "She said you had run away, that you were senile, that if I saw you, I should call her immediately." I felt something cold run down my back. "What?" Betty looked down. I didn't believe her. You never seemed senile to me. But she insisted. She left her number. She told me you were dangerous, that you might get lost, that you had to be returned. Oliver squeezed my arm. But I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. "That was 2 years ago," I murmured. Betty nodded. "Yes. You were still living with her, weren't you?" I nodded. And then I understood. Audrey had wanted me gone for years. She was already planning how to get rid of me. She was just waiting for the moment. And that moment arrived last Saturday. When she finally told me to leave, when she finally executed the plan she had been putting together for years. "Mr. Robert, are you okay?" Betty asked. I wasn't okay, but I nodded. "Yes. Thank you for telling me." She sighed. "I didn't know whether to tell you, but I thought you had to know." We bought bread. Oliver paid. We left. We walked in silence. I was processing. Audrey hadn't kicked me out on impulse. It wasn't the stress of the moment. It was planned, calculated. She had wanted me gone for years, and she finally succeeded. And I, like a fool, thought she still loved me, that I was still her dad. But no, I was just a problem that she had been postponing, until she couldn't anymore. We arrived at the house. We went in. I sat on the sofa. I put my head in my hands. Oliver sat next to me. "Robert, don't say anything," I murmured. "Just don't say anything." We stayed like that, in silence, until Oliver's phone rang. He looked at it. He frowned. "It's a number I don't know," he said. "Hello?" I heard a feminine voice on the other end. Young, desperate. Oliver looked at me. "It's for you." He handed me the phone. "Hello, Grandpa?" It was Lucy. My granddaughter. But her voice sounded strange, broken. Lucy, what's wrong? Grandpa. I ran away. I felt my heart stop. What? I ran away from home. I can't stand Mom anymore. I hate her, Grandpa. I hate her. She was crying. I stood up. Lucy, where are you? At the bus station. I took money from my piggy bank. I bought a ticket. I'm coming there. How did you know where I was? I asked. I asked Paul, the 47 driver. He told me. I closed my eyes. Lucy, you have to go back. No, I'm not going back. Mom hit me, Grandpa. She hit me because I defended you. I felt anger, pure anger. She hit you? Yes. I told her you were a good man, that she had no right to kick you out. And she hit me. She told me I was ungrateful, that I didn't know anything about life. If you are listening to my story, leave me a comment telling me where you are watching from. Sometimes I need to know I'm not alone in this. Lucy, has the bus left yet? Yes, I'll be there in an hour. I looked at Oliver. He nodded as if saying, let her come. I sighed. Okay, come, but we'll talk to your mom later. I don't want to talk to her. Lucy? No, Grandpa. She kicked you out, she humiliated you, and I'm not going to forgive her. Never. Oliver looked at me. What happened? Lucy ran away. She's coming here. Audrey hit her. Oliver closed his eyes. My God. I nodded. This is going to get worse. An hour later, Lucy arrived. She knocked on the door. I opened it. And there she was, my granddaughter, 16 years old, thin, messy hair, a backpack on her back, and a bruise on her arm. I hugged her, tight. She clung to me and cried. Grandpa, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You don't have to apologize, my love. You didn't do anything wrong. I should have defended you sooner. I should have said something when she kicked you out. Lucy, you don't have to defend me. I'm the adult. She pulled away. She looked at me with those eyes full of tears. But she has no right, Grandpa. She has no right to treat you like that. I nodded. I know. But it's over now. And now you're here, and that's what matters. Lucy sat down next to me. She stared at me. Grandpa, you know what the worst part was? I shook my head. The worst part wasn't that Mom kicked you out. It was that I didn't say anything. I was in my room. I heard everything, the dinner, the laughter, what she said to you. And I didn't come down. I didn't defend you. I stayed upstairs, crying, hating myself for being a coward. I grabbed her hand. Lucy. No, Grandpa, let me finish. When you left, I went downstairs. I asked Mom where you were, and she said, he left, and he's not coming back. Because he finally understood that he was in the way here. And I told her, you're in the way too, Mom. But no one has the guts to tell you. And she hit me. For the first time in my life, she hit me. She cried. And I did too. Lucy greeted Oliver. He welcomed her with a smile. Welcome, kid? She smiled shyly. She sat on the sofa. I made her tea. I gave her bread. She ate slowly. And then Oliver's phone rang again. This time, the name on the screen was clear. Audrey. Oliver looked at me. Should I answer? I took a deep breath. Yes, answer, Oliver answered. He put it on speaker. And then we heard Audrey's voice, shouting, desperate, furious. Where is my daughter? Oliver, if my father has her there, I swear I'm calling the police. Bring her back to me right now. Lucy tensed up. I put a hand on her shoulder. And then I spoke, calm, firm. Audrey, it's me. Silence on the other end. And then her voice, broken, furious. Dad, give me back my daughter. She's fine. She's with me. And she's going to stay here until you calm down. You have no right. You didn't have the right to hit her either. More silence. And then, with a trembling voice, she told you. Yes, she told me. Dad, I didn't mean to. Yes, you did. And you did it. And now you're going to live with the consequences. What consequences? Lucy is staying with me, at least for now. And you're going to think about what you did. To me, to her, to everyone. I hung up. Audrey called again. I didn't answer. She called 5 more times. I turned off the phone, and I looked at Lucy. She was looking at me with her eyes full of tears. Thank you, Grandpa. I nodded, and for the first time in days, I felt something like purpose. To protect my granddaughter, even from her own mother. That night, Lucy slept on the sofa. Oliver lent her blankets. I stayed awake sitting in the kitchen, looking out the window. I couldn't sleep. I thought about Audrey, about her voice when she called. Desperate, furious, but not regretful. Never regretful. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Oliver's phone rang again. He was asleep. I answered. Hello? Silence. And then, a voice I hadn't heard in years. Robert? It was Susan, my younger sister, 68 years old. She lived upstate. Since Helen died, we barely spoke. Susan, thank God. Audrey called me. She said you had run away, that you abandoned the house, that you are senile and dangerous. I closed my eyes. I'm not senile, Susan. I know. That's why I'm calling you. Audrey is saying horrible things. She says you abused her, that you stole money from her, that Lucy is in danger with you. I felt something explode inside me. What? My voice came out louder than I wanted. Lucy moved on the sofa. I lowered my tone. Susan. She kicked me out. She told me I was her stress, to leave, and I left. Susan sobbed on the other end. I know, brother, I know. That's why I'm calling you. Because you need to know what she's saying. She's rewriting everything. She called everyone. The neighbors, her work, even Dennis. Dennis? Yes. She told him you went crazy, that you need psychiatric help, that Lucy manipulated you. I couldn't believe it. But at the same time, I could. Because that was Audrey. When things didn't go her way, she changed the story. Susan, did you believe her? There was a silence, long, painful. At first, yes, I thought. My brother is old. Maybe he really is confused. But then I called Nathan, your neighbor. He told me everything. He told me about the dinner, what Audrey said to you, how you left with a bag. And then I knew. My niece kicked you out. And now she's lying so she doesn't look bad. I felt relief. At least someone believed me. Thank you, Susan. Don't thank me. I should have called you sooner. I should have asked you how you were, but I was tired too. Sick. And I thought Audrey was taking care of you. She wasn't taking care of me, Susan. She tolerated me. Until she couldn't anymore. Susan cried. Forgive me, brother. Forgive me for not being there. You don't have to apologize. No one has to apologize. Just know the truth. I know it. And I'm going to tell everyone. I'm going to call Audrey and tell her she's a liar. That what she did is wrong. No, Susan, don't do it. Why not? Because it will only make things worse. Leave her. Leave her with her lies. I don't need them to believe me anymore. I just need peace. Susan sighed. Okay. But brother, come to my house, please. Don't stay there. I'm fine here, Susan. Oliver is taking care of me. There was a silence, and then Susan said something that made my blood run cold. Robert, Dennis also wants to talk to you. I was speechless. Dennis, my younger brother, 72 years old. We hadn't spoken for 8 years, since our mother died. Since we fought over the inheritance, he wanted to sell the house. I wanted to keep it because I had taken care of Mom until the end. We fought. He said horrible things to me. You were always the favorite. Always you. I don't exist to this family. And he hung up. And he never called again. Until now. I don't want to talk to him, I said. Robert, he's sick. I felt something cold in my stomach. What? Cancer, advanced. That's why he wants to talk to you. Before it's too late. I didn't answer. I didn't know what to say. Dennis, sick, dying, like Oliver. Like Helen, like everyone. Robert, give him a chance, please. Susan. He told me I ruined his life. That he was never happy because of me. I know. And he regrets it. He told me, crying. I want to ask Robert for forgiveness. Before I die. Please, brother, talk to him. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. Okay. Tell him to call me. Susan sighed in relief. Thank you, brother. But Susan, if he comes with lies or manipulations, I'm going to hang up. He won't, I promise you. We hung up. I stayed there, sitting, looking at the phone. Dennis. After 8 years, what could he say to me that would change anything? The next day, while we were having breakfast, someone knocked on the door. Oliver opened it. It was a woman, about 38 years old, thin, with a tired face, hair tied back. Mr. Oliver? He nodded. I'm Sally Jones. I don't know if you remember me. Oliver frowned, and then he remembered. The maid who worked at Audrey's house. She nodded. Yes. Is he here? I stood up. I came out of the kitchen. I saw her, and something inside me broke. Because Sally had been good to me. She treated me with respect. She listened to me. And Audrey had fired her without explanation. Sally. She saw me, and her eyes filled with tears. Mr. Robert? Thank God. She came in. She sat down. I served her coffee. She was shaking. Mr. Robert? I tried to find you. I called the house. Audrey blocked me. I wrote to Lucy. She told me you had left. And then I got Mr. Oliver's number from an old paper I had saved. Oliver nodded. She called me 2 days ago. I told her Robert was here. Sally looked at me. I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you months ago. But I was scared. I tensed up. What? She took a deep breath. Audrey asked me to give you the wrong pills. To confuse the doses. To let you sleep more. Not to wake you up for meals. She said, the more he sleeps, the less he bothers me. I felt as if cold water had been thrown on me. What? Sally nodded, crying. I didn't do it. I swear I didn't do it. That's why she fired me. Because I refused. I told her, ma'am, that's abuse. I can't do it. And she yelled at me. She told me I didn't know anything. That her father was a manipulator. That I was a fool. And she fired me. Without paying me the last 2 weeks. Oliver put a hand on my shoulder. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. Audrey hadn't just kicked me out. She had tried to sedate me, keep me asleep, so I wouldn't bother her, so I wouldn't exist. Mr. Robert, I saved the messages. If you need them, I can show them to you. Lucy, who had heard everything from the sofa, got up. She came toward me. She hugged me. Grandpa, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I hugged her hard. It's not your fault, my love. None of this is your fault. Sally wiped her tears. There's more. Audrey was selling your medicine, the leftovers. She was selling it online to make a little extra money. And the bank statements, she hid them. You have a pension, Mr. Robert, that is deposited every month. But she never gave it to you. She used it for her own things. I felt anger. Pure anger. Not because of the money, because of the betrayal, because of the lie, because of the contempt. Why are you telling me this now? Sally looked at me fixedly. Because when I found out Lucy was here, I knew things were going to explode. And you need to know who you're dealing with. Audrey isn't going to give up. She's going to come. And she's going to lie. She's going to cry. She's going to manipulate. But she's not going to change. Because she doesn't believe she did anything wrong. She believes you are the problem. And she will always believe it. And at that moment, with Sally in front of me, with Lucy clinging to my side, with Oliver next to me, I understood. There was no turning back. My daughter had betrayed me in ways I couldn't even imagine. And I could no longer forgive her. Because forgiving someone like that would be betraying myself. Sally stayed 2 hours. She showed us the messages, the conversations with Audrey, the orders, the threats. If you tell my father anything, I'll sue you. You don't know what it's like to live with an old man in the house. Do what I tell you or find another job. I read every message, and each one was a stab. Lucy read them too, and cried. Mom, how could she? I had no answer, because I didn't understand. I didn't understand how my daughter, the little girl I had carried in my arms, who I had taken to school, who I had comforted when she cried, had become this, into someone capable of hurting me without remorse. When Sally left, I stayed sitting on the sofa. Lucy was next to me, curled up in her chair. Neither of us spoke, until Lucy said, Grandpa, there's something else you need to know. I looked at her. What? She got up. She went to her backpack. She took out an old notebook with worn covers, with yellowed pages. I found this in Mom's room. It was hidden in the back of her closet. I think it's Grandma's. She handed it to me. I took it. My hands were shaking. It was Helen's diary. I recognized it by the handwriting, by the smell of the paper, of her. Did you read it? I asked. Lucy shook her head. No. I felt like I shouldn't. It's yours. I opened the diary. The first pages were from years ago, decades. Simple notes. Today, Robert gave me flowers. Audrey took her first steps. We went to the movies. We laughed. Happy things, normal things. But toward the end, the entries changed. They became dark, sad. Audrey is changing. She doesn't smile like she used to. I asked her if she was okay. She yelled at me. She told me not to meddle in her life. Robert doesn't realize it, but I do. Our daughter is leaving us behind. I turned the pages and reached the last entry, dated 3 days before Helen died. And what I read broke me in 2 parts. I kept reading. Another entry, 2 years before her death. Today was Robert's birthday. Audrey didn't come. She called. She said she had work, but I heard laughter in the background. She was at a bar with friends, and she preferred that to being with her father. Robert pretended he didn't care. But I saw it. I saw how his gaze faded when he hung up the phone, and I didn't know what to say. Because what do you say to a man his own daughter forgot? I turned another page. Audrey came today, but not to see us, to ask us for money again. Robert gave her everything he had, and she didn't even say thank you. She just grabbed the envelope and left. And I was left thinking, when did she become like this? Was it our fault? Or are there some people who are simply born without knowing how to love? Today Audrey came to the hospital, not to see me, to ask me how much time I had left. I told her, not much, weeks, maybe days. And she sighed, not out of sadness, but relief, like someone taking a weight off. And then she said, "And Dad? Will he be okay alone?" I told her, "Your dad won't be alone. He'll have you." She laughed, a bitter laugh. "Mom, I can't take care of Dad. I have my life, my job, my daughter. I can't." I told her, "He's your father, Audrey. He needs you." And she stared at me. "Mom, I didn't choose him. You chose me. But I didn't choose this." And she left, without saying goodbye, without hugging me. And I stayed there, in that hospital bed, knowing my daughter is going to reject her father. And there is nothing I can do to prevent it. I closed the diary. My hands were shaking. Lucy looked at me. "What does it say, Grandpa?" I couldn't speak. I just handed her the diary. She read and put her hands to her mouth. "No, it can't be." Oliver also read and shook his head. "Helen knew." I nodded. Yes, she knew, and she couldn't do anything. Lucy cried. "Grandpa, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I hugged her. "Don't apologize, my love. You are not your mother. You are different." She clung to me. "I will never abandon you. Never." And I knew it was true, because Lucy had Helen's heart, not Audrey's. I kept reading. There was more. A loose note written in shaky handwriting, as if Helen could barely hold the pen. "Robert, if you are reading this, it is because I am no longer here, and it is because something went wrong, something I feared. Audrey rejected you, I know. I saw it coming. I saw it. I saw it for years. The way she looked at you, the way she sighed when you spoke, the way she avoided hugging you. I tried to talk to her. I tried to make her understand, but she wouldn't listen. And now, my love, I tell you this. Don't go back. If she kicked you out, don't go back. Don't beg her. Don't humiliate yourself because Audrey doesn't know how to love. And you deserve to be loved." The tears fell onto the paper, staining the ink. Your place is not with her. Your place is where they welcome you with open arms, where you don't have to apologize for existing, where you are not a burden. Find Oliver. He was always your real brother, more than Dennis, more than anyone. Find him and stay with him and live, Robert. Live without guilt, without shame, without asking forgiveness for getting old. Because getting old is not a crime, it is a privilege, and you deserve to live it in peace. I love you. I always loved you. And wherever I am, I will be watching over you, Helen. I closed the diary. I pressed it against my chest and cried like I hadn't cried since she died. Because Helen had known me, had understood me, and had given me permission to be happy without Audrey. Lucy hugged me. Oliver put a hand on my shoulder, and we stayed like that, the three of us, in that old house, with that old diary, and those old truths that were finally coming to light. After a while, I calmed down, I wiped my face and said, "Helen was right. I'm not going back." Lucy nodded. "You don't have to go back, Grandpa. You can stay here, with me, with Mr. Oliver." Oliver smiled. "This house is yours, Robert, for as long as you need." I nodded, and for the first time in days, I felt something like hope. It wasn't happiness, not yet, but it was something. It was the certainty that it was worth continuing, that Helen was taking care of me, even from the grave. That afternoon, someone knocked on the door. Oliver went to open it, and then I heard a voice, deep, hoarse, familiar. "Is Robert here?" Oliver turned to me, looked at me as if asking, "Do you want to see this person?" I got up, went to the door, and there he was, Dennis, my brother, 72 years old. But he looked 90, thin, pale, with deep, dark circles under his eyes, with a cane, with clothes that were too big for him. And when he saw me, his eyes broke. "Robert." I didn't answer. I just looked at him and waited, because this time it wasn't going to be me who spoke first. This time he had to take the first step. Dennis looked down. "Can I come in?" Oliver looked at me. I nodded. Dennis came in, sat on the sofa. I sat across from him. Lucy was in the kitchen, Oliver too, giving us space. Dennis looked at me and said, "I came to ask for your forgiveness." I didn't answer. I just waited. He continued, "What I told you 8 years ago was wrong. I was angry, resentful, jealous. Mom always preferred you, and I never got over it. But that doesn't justify anything. You took care of her. You sacrificed yourself, and I just wanted money." He broke down. "And now I'm dying, and I realize that I wasted 8 years. 8 years when I could have been with you, when I could have been your brother." I felt something in my chest. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something. It was understanding. Because Dennis was also alone. He was also scared. He was also dying without anyone taking care of him. "Why are you coming now?" I asked. Dennis looked at me. "Because Susan told me what Audrey did to you, and I saw myself reflected in her. The same anger, the same resentment, the same inability to love. And I don't want to die being like her. I don't want to die hating you." I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and said, "I don't hate you, Dennis. I never hated you. I was just hurt that you left me." He nodded. "I know, and I'm sorry, I really am." And at that moment, in that house, with that sick brother in front of me, I understood. Forgiveness doesn't erase the pain, but it does allow you to move forward. And I was already tired of carrying grudges. Dennis and I stayed there, sitting, looking at each other. 8 years had passed since the last time. 8 years of silence, of resentment, of words that were never said. He looked so sick, so fragile, so broken. "How much time do you have left?" I asked. He looked down. 3 months, maybe less. I nodded. "I'm sorry." He shook his head. "Don't be sorry. I deserve it. For everything I did to you, for everything I said to you." Oliver appeared with coffee. He served it to us in silence. Lucy was still in the kitchen, listening. Dennis took a sip and then said, "Robert, I need you to listen to me, without judging me, just listen to me. When Mom died, I was furious. Not with you, with life, because I also took care of her. I was also there. But she only talked about you. Robert does this. Robert is so good. I was invisible, and when she died and left the house in your name, I felt like I was being erased again." His voice broke. "But it wasn't your fault. It was mine for not knowing how to handle my own demons. And I hurt you. I said horrible things to you, things I didn't mean." I looked at him and saw sincerity, or at least what looked like sincerity. "And now, what do you want?" He took a deep breath. "I want you to come live with me. I have a big house, 3 bedrooms, a nurse. You can bring Lucy. We can be a family again." I felt something stir inside me. Family after 8 years, after everything. But at the same time, Dennis was my brother, my blood, and he was dying. Why now? I asked again. He wiped his eyes. Because Audrey called me. She told me you had left, that you were senile, that Lucy was in danger. And I believed her at first. But then I called Susan, and she told me the truth. She told me what Audrey did to you, and I saw myself reflected in her. The same cruelty, the same selfishness. And I don't want to die being like her. I don't want to die knowing that I was just as cruel to you. I swallowed, because his words sounded real. They sounded honest. Robert, give me a chance, just one. Let me make it up to you. Let me take care of you. Lucy came out of the kitchen. She looked at me with those eyes that said, Grandpa, don't trust him so fast. But Dennis seemed genuine, seemed regretful. I don't know, Dennis. I need to think about it. He nodded. Okay. Take your time, but think about it, please. He got up, walked toward the door, and then, just before leaving, he turned around. There's one more thing. Something in his tone changed. It became colder, more calculated. What is it? I asked. He hesitated, and then blurted out, I need you to forgive me officially, before a notary, because there's a pending inheritance from Mom, a property upstate, and if you legally forgive me, we can divide it. I froze. Oliver too. Lucy clenched her fists. What? My voice came out low, dangerous. Dennis raised his hands. It's not what you think. It's just a legal formality. We both need to agree to sell. And the lawyer says that if there is a documented reconciliation, the process is faster. I stared at him. Dennis, did you come for me or for the money? He tensed up. I came for you. The money is it's just a pending issue. No, my voice was firm. You came for the money. All of this, the cancer, the apologies, the big house, it was all so I would sign. Dennis turned pale. No, Robert, Leave, Dennis. Please, leave. Dennis, leave now. He looked at me, searching for some sign that he could convince me. But he didn't find it. Because I had already learned, I had already seen that play before, with Audrey, with Michael, with everyone who used me, and then discarded me. Robert, I'm sorry. You're not sorry. You just feel like you lost your chance. Dennis pursed his lips, and without saying anything else, he left. The door closed, and I stayed there, standing, feeling a strange mixture. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't anger. It was relief. Because this time I hadn't fallen. This time I had seen the trap before stepping into it. Lucy came toward me. Grandpa, you did the right thing. I nodded. I know, my love. I know. I sat down. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from anger, but also from something else, from pride, because for the first time in my life, I had said no to someone who wanted to use me. Helen always told me, Robert, you are too good, and people know it, and they use it. And I would answer, they're my family, my love. What do you want me to do? And she would look at me sadly. To value yourself. To know that you don't have to give all of yourself for people to love you. I closed my eyes. I've learned, Helen. It took 79 years. But I've learned. Oliver approached. That man is not going to change. I know. But you did change. I looked at him. What do you mean? He smiled. A week ago you would have said yes, so as not to disappoint, so as not to look bad, so as not to be alone. But now you said no, because you know you deserve more. I felt something warm in my chest. Because he was right. I had changed. I was no longer the man who let himself be humiliated in silence. I was no longer the man who accepted scraps of affection. Now I was someone who knew his worth. Someone who knew that being alone was better than being in bad company. And that simple certainty gave me strength. We sat down, Lucy made more coffee, and while we drank, we heard something outside, a noise, engines, sirens. We looked at each other. Oliver frowned. "What is that?" He went to the window, and then with a tense voice said, "It's the police." My heart stopped. "What?" Lucy ran to the window. "Grandpa, it's 3 patrol cars." I got up, went to the door, opened it, and there they were. 3 patrol cars, with their lights on. 6 police officers got out. One of them, a man about 40 years old, with an immaculate uniform, walked toward me. "Robert Sanchez Calderon?" I nodded with a dry throat. "That's me." He took out a notebook. "We have a report of a minor abduction. Lucy Sanchez Ferrer. Is she here?" I felt as if the ground opened up beneath my feet. "Abduction?" The police officer nodded. "Your daughter, Audrey Sanchez Belmar, filed a formal complaint. She alleges that you removed the minor from the home without her consent, that you are holding her against her will." Lucy came out, with her eyes full of tears. "That's a lie. I ran away. My grandpa didn't abduct me." The police officer looked at her. "Miss, are you Lucy Sanchez?" She nodded. "Yes." "Are you here of your own free will?" "Yes, my mom hit me, she humiliated me, and I decided to leave." The police officer wrote it down, looked at his partner. "We need to talk to you, Mr. Robert, and with the minor, you will have to come to the precinct to make a statement." Oliver came out. "Officer, this man didn't abduct anyone. The girl came on her own. I am a witness." The police officer looked at him. "And you?" "Oliver Serrano, owner of this house." The police officer nodded. "You will also have to make a statement." Lucy grabbed my arm. "Grandpa, don't let them take me back to her." I hugged her. "I won't let them, my love." But at that moment I saw a car arrive, behind the patrol cars. It was Audrey. She got out of the car, messy hair with red eyes, with wrinkled clothes. She walked toward us, and when she saw me, she shouted, "There he is! That's the man who stole my daughter!" The police officer raised his hand. "Ma'am, calm down." But Audrey didn't calm down. She kept shouting, "He's senile! He's dangerous! Give me back my daughter!" Lucy hid behind me, trembling. The police officer looked at me. "Mr. Robert, you're going to have to come with us?" I nodded. "Okay. But Lucy is coming with me. I'm not leaving her with her." Audrey stepped forward. "Lucy is my daughter, not yours." The police officer intervened. "Ma'am, everyone will go to the precinct. It will be resolved there." Audrey looked at me with hatred, pure hatred. And at that moment I understood. My daughter hadn't just kicked me out. She hadn't just lied to me. Now she was accusing me of a crime, to regain control, to win, to make me come crawling back. But this time it wasn't going to work. Because this time I had witnesses, I had Lucy, I had Oliver, and I had the truth. And the truth, for the first time in my life, was on my side. They put us in the patrol cars, me in one, Lucy in another, Audrey in a third. Oliver asked to go with me. The police officer agreed. During the ride, no one spoke. I looked out the window, I watched the city pass, and I thought, how did we get to this? How can a family destroy itself so completely? We arrived at the precinct. It was an old building with peeling walls and a damp smell. They took us inside. They took me to one room, Lucy to another, Audrey to another. A detective arrived, a man about 50 years old, with a tired face and a loose tie. Mr. Robert, tell me what happened. I took a deep breath and told him everything. From the dinner, from the sentence, from my leaving, from Lucy's arrival. The detective wrote it down, without judging, without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "Do you have witnesses?" "Yes, Oliver. Sally, the former maid. Paul, the bus driver. Betty, the baker." He nodded. "We're going to call them. In the meantime, stay here." He left. I was left alone in that cold room, with a metal table and 2 chairs. The walls were gray. There was a small window with bars. And for the first time, I felt like a criminal. Like someone who had done something wrong. But I hadn't done anything. I had only protected my granddaughter. I had only told the truth. And that's why they were treating me like a delinquent. 2 hours passed. Or maybe more, I don't know. I lost track of time. Until the detective came back. With a folder, he sat across from me. "Mr. Robert, I spoke with the minor, with your friend Oliver, and I called Sally Jones." He opened the folder. "Everyone says the same thing. That you didn't abduct anyone. That the minor ran away of her own free will. That there is evidence of emotional abuse by the mother." I felt relief. "So, can I leave?" He raised a hand. "Not so fast. I also spoke with your daughter. She says you are senile, that you have memory problems, that you represent a danger to the minor." I clenched my fists. "That's a lie." The detective looked at me fixedly. "I know, because I also checked your medical history with your permission. I called your previous doctor, Dr. Ramirez. He says you are perfectly lucid, that there are no signs of dementia or cognitive decline. In fact, he told me that your daughter canceled several appointments without justification." I breathed a sigh of relief again. So, Mr. Robert, there is no case of abduction, but there is a minor who does not want to return to her mother, and that is a problem." I swallowed. What is going to happen to Lucy? The detective closed the folder. "A judge decides that we are going to summon both of you to a hearing. In the meantime, Lucy can stay with you, but under the supervision of social services." "Social services?" He nodded. "A social worker will visit the house where Lucy is, will evaluate the conditions, and will make a report. The judge will read it and decide." I nodded. "Okay, I'll do whatever is necessary." The detective got up. "You can leave, but don't leave the city and keep Lucy safe." I got up, left the room, and there was Lucy, sitting on a bench, with Oliver next to her. When she saw me, she ran to me, hugged me. "Grandpa, what did they say?" "That you can stay with me for now." She cried with relief. "Thank you, Grandpa. Thank you." I hugged her tight and looked toward the hallway. Audrey was there, looking at me, with her eyes full of tears, but not of sadness, of anger, of defeat. We left the precinct. It was night. The air was cold. Oliver called a taxi. We returned to New Hope in silence. When we arrived, Oliver made tea. Lucy sat on the sofa. I sat next to her. And then for the first time in hours, I breathed. "Grandpa, do you think the judge will let me stay with you?" Lucy asked. I looked at her. "I don't know, my love, but I'm going to fight. I'm going to do everything in my power for you to stay." She nodded. "I'm going to fight too." Oliver sat with us. "You two are going to be fine. I'll make sure of that." And at that moment, in that humble house, with those loyal people, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Family. The next day, I woke up early. I had things to do, things I couldn't postpone. I went to the bank. With the help of Betty, who accompanied me, I managed to transfer my pension to a new account. In my name, Audrey would no longer have access. The bank employee looked at me with compassion. Mr. Robert, your daughter tried to block this transfer. I looked at him. When? Yesterday, she called saying you weren't in your right mind. But we need a court order to block an account, and she doesn't have one. I nodded. Thank you. I left the bank feeling stronger, more in control of my life. For the first time in years, I controlled my money. I controlled my decisions. That afternoon, a visit. The nurse from the health center came to visit us. Oliver had called her. Mr. Robert, I heard what happened. I nodded. Yes, it was complicated. She sat down. You need a lawyer, someone to represent you at the hearing. I know one. His name is Stephen Lawrence. He's good, and he doesn't charge much. I thanked her. She gave me the number. I called that same afternoon. Stephen came the next day. He was a man about 60 years old, with thick glasses and an old briefcase. But he spoke with confidence, with knowledge. Mr. Robert, your case is strong. You have witnesses. You have evidence. And you have a minor who clearly does not want to return to her mother. We can win this. I felt hope. Real hope. The following days were intense. Stephen requested statements. Sally made a statement. Paul made a statement. Betty made a statement. Even Nathan, the ex-military neighbor, made a statement. Everyone said the same thing. Audrey had kicked me out, had humiliated me, and Lucy had fled of her own free will. Meanwhile, Lucy and I settled into Oliver's house. She slept in the back room, I on the sofa. Oliver insisted on giving me his bed. But I wouldn't accept. You're sick, you need to rest, he would smile. And you too. But you're more stubborn than I am. We would laugh. And in the midst of the chaos, we found peace, small moments of peace that kept us alive. Lucy started helping Betty at the bakery, a few hours in the morning. Betty paid her a little, and Lucy saved, for when I have to go to college, she would say. I looked at her with pride, because my granddaughter was strong. She was resilient. She was everything her mother was not. I, for my part, started giving volunteer classes at the community center, history for older adults. Adam, the blind neighbor Oliver introduced me to, was my first student. Mr. Robert, I want to learn. Even if I can't see, I can listen. And he listened, attentively, with a hunger for knowledge. And I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Purpose. I was still useful. I still mattered. I could still give something to the world. Martha, the cranky neighbor, came by one day with casseroles. For you and the girl, don't waste them. Lucy thanked her. Thank you, Mrs. Martha. The woman nodded. And before leaving, she looked at me. You've been reborn, Mr. Robert. It shows. And she left. Felix came another day. Mr. Robert, we're playing dominoes on Saturday. Are you coming? I nodded. I'll be there. And I went. And I played. And I lost. But it didn't matter. Because I was alive. Because I was surrounded by people who loved me. Because for the first time in years, I was not a burden. I was Mr. Robert, the professor, the friend, the grandfather, and that simple affirmation of my existence gave me back the desire to live, the desire to fight, the desire to win. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of preparation, of nerves, of fear. The hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. Stephen, my lawyer, came the night before. Mr. Robert, tomorrow is going to be tough. Audrey has a lawyer too, and they are going to attack you. They are going to say you are old, that you can't take care of a teenager, that Lucy needs her mother. I looked at him. And what are we going to say? He smiled. The truth. That Lucy is better off with you. That she has stability. That she has love. And that her mother abused her. I nodded. But the fear was still there. Because the truth doesn't always win. Sometimes the system protects those who don't deserve it. That night I didn't sleep. I stayed awake, looking at the ceiling, thinking about everything that could go wrong. What if the judge didn't believe me? What if she decided that Lucy had to go back to Audrey? What if they took my granddaughter away from me? Lucy didn't sleep either. I heard her get up several times, go to the bathroom, come back. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I got up, went to the kitchen. She was already there, sitting at the table with her hands holding an empty cup. Couldn't sleep? I asked. She shook her head. I'm scared, Grandpa. I sat next to her. I grabbed her hand. Me too, but we're going to be okay no matter what happens. We're going to be okay. We arrived at the courthouse at 9 o'clock. Stephen was waiting for us at the entrance. Ready? I nodded, Lucy too. We went in. It was a cold building with long hallways and the smell of old paper. We sat in a waiting room, and then I saw her, Audrey. She was sitting on the other side with her lawyer, a young man with an expensive suit and an arrogant face. Audrey looked at me, and I looked back at her. She looked different, thinner, with deep dark circles under her eyes, with dull hair. But her eyes still had that hardness, that coldness, that inability to accept that she was wrong. Lucy squeezed my hand. Don't look at her, Grandpa. I'm not afraid to look at her, my love. They called us. We went into the courtroom. The judge was a woman, about 55 years old, with glasses and a serious expression. Good morning. I am Judge Amanda Miller. We are here to resolve of the provisional custody of the minor, Lucy Sanchez Ferrer, Mrs. Audrey, you have the floor. Audrey's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my client is a responsible, hard-working mother who has taken care of her daughter for 16 years. Mr. Robert, with all due respect, is a 79-year-old man. He does not have the resources or the energy to take care of a teenager. Furthermore, he removed the minor from the home without the mother's consent. That constitutes abduction. Stephen stood up. Objection, Your Honor. There was no abduction. The minor ran away of her own free will. We have statements that prove it. Furthermore, there is evidence of emotional and physical abuse by the mother. Audrey's lawyer smiled. Abuse? Mrs. Audrey never hit her daughter. There was an argument, normal between a mother and a teenage daughter, nothing more. Lucy tensed up next to me. Stephen looked at the judge. Your Honor, the minor has a bruise on her arm, documented by social services, and there are witnesses who confirm the emotional abuse. The judge wrote it down. Let's continue, Mr. Robert. Do you want to say something? I stood up with trembling legs. Yes, Your Honor. I did not steal my granddaughter. She came to me because she had nowhere else to go, because her mother hit her, because her mother kicked me out of the house for no reason. I just want to take care of her, give her a home, give her love. I know I'm old. I know I'm not perfect. But I love her, and she loves me, and that has to count for something. I sat down. The judge looked at me. Mr. Robert, do you have a stable place to live? Yes, with my friend Oliver. And do you have income? Yes, my pension, and I work at the neighborhood bakery. The judge wrote it down. And you, Lucy? What do you want? Lucy stood up with tears in her eyes. I want to stay with my grandpa. My mom doesn't love me. She only keeps me because she's embarrassed for people to know that I left. Audrey's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, the minor is being manipulated. It's obvious that the grandfather put ideas into her head. Lucy looked at him with anger. No one manipulated me. My mom hit me. My mom kicked my grandpa out. I saw everything. The judge raised her hand. Order, Lucy. Sit down. Lucy sat down, trembling. I put a hand on her shoulder. The judge looked at the papers. I have here the social services report. It says that the minor is in good condition at Mr. Robert's house, that she has emotional stability, that she attends school, that there are no signs of danger. Audrey's lawyer tensed up. But, Your Honor, that is temporary. A man of his age cannot. A man of his age, the judge interrupted, has taken care of this girl better than her own mother in the last few weeks. That's what the report says. I felt a ray of hope. The judge called Betty. She came in, nervous. She sat down. Mrs. Betty, you know Mr. Robert, correct? Yes, Your Honor, for 40 years. How would you describe him? Betty looked at me, her eyes filled with tears. Mr. Robert he is one of those people you don't find anymore. Honest, hardworking, generous. When my husband died, he was the only one who came to the wake, and he brought food so I wouldn't have to cook. And when I opened the bakery, he lent me money. Without interest, without paperwork. Just trust. The judge wrote it down. And with Lucy, how is he? With Lucy, he is a real grandpa, not one of those who gives money and leaves. He listens to her. He respects her. He treats her like a person. And Lucy adores him. You can see that. Betty wiped her eyes. If anyone deserves to take care of that girl, it's him. Then, the judge continued, however, the law is clear. Custody belongs to the parents, unless there is conclusive evidence of severe abuse. And here, although there is emotional abuse, there is not enough to permanently remove custody. I felt like my heart was being torn out. But, Your Honor, she raised her hand. Let me finish. I am going to order a psychological evaluation of both the mother and the grandfather, and an evaluation of the minor. That will take 2 months. In the meantime, provisional custody remains with Mr. Robert. I breathed, relieved, but only a little, because 2 months was not forever. 2 months was only a respite. Audrey's lawyer protested. Your Honor, that is unfair. My client has the right to see her daughter. The judge nodded. And she will have it. I order supervised visits once a week in a neutral place. Social services will coordinate. Audrey stood up. No, I want my daughter back. The judge stared at her. Mrs. Audrey, your daughter does not want to return to you, and I have to consider her opinion. Sit down. Audrey sat down, her face red, her hands clenched. And I knew this wasn't over. This was just beginning. We left the courthouse. Lucy hugged me. Grandpa, we won. We didn't win, my love. We just bought more time. Stephen nodded. Mr. Robert is right. This is going to continue. Audrey is not going to give up. But we have an advantage. The truth is on our side. That afternoon, when we returned home, Oliver was waiting for us with coffee. How did it go? Good. More or less. I told him everything. He nodded. 2 months is enough time to prepare, to gather more evidence to show that Lucy is better off here. And then, that night, while Lucy slept, I stayed awake, thinking, planning, because I knew the next hearing would be the definitive one. And I couldn't lose it. I wasn't going to lose Lucy. Not after everything we had been through. During the following weeks, something unexpected happened. Audrey began to come to the supervised visits, but not to see Lucy, to attack me. Dad, this is ridiculous. Give me back my daughter. It's not my decision, Audrey. It's the judge's decision. You manipulated her. You put ideas into her head. No, you hurt her, and she decided to leave. The visits were tense, painful. Lucy barely spoke to her mother, and Audrey, instead of trying to reconnect, only accused, only attacked. And every visit, the social worker took notes. And I knew those notes were going to help me, because they showed who Audrey really was and who I was. And in the end, when the final hearing came, the truth was going to speak louder than the lies. 2 months later, we returned to the courthouse, this time With more evidence, with more witnesses, with more hope, Judge Amanda Miller entered. We all stood up. She sat down, opened a folder. I have reviewed the psychological evaluations, the minor's evaluations, and the supervised visit reports. She looked at Audrey. Mrs. Audrey, the evaluation shows that you have high levels of stress, anxiety, and difficulty managing emotions. It also shows a lack of empathy toward your daughter. Audrey's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, my client has been under a lot of pressure. That doesn't mean she can't take care of her daughter. The judge looked at him. Sit down. Mr. Robert, your evaluation shows that you are in full mental capacity, that there are no signs of dementia, that you have emotional stability, and that you have a strong bond with your granddaughter. I felt relief. But the judge continued. However, there is a concern, your age and your health. The medical report says that you have high blood pressure, that you need constant medication, and that statistically at your age, health complications are common. I felt a lump in my throat. Your Honor, I take care of myself, I take my medication, and I have support. Oliver, my friend, Betty, Sally, everyone helps me. The judge nodded. I know, but the law obliges me to consider the long-term well-being of the minor. Audrey's lawyer smiled, like someone who knows he has already won. Your Honor, it is clear. The minor must return to her mother. It is natural. It is correct. Stephen stood up. Your Honor, with all due respect, what is natural is not always what is right. What is right is what protects the minor, and the minor is at risk with her mother. The judge raised her hand. Both of you have valid points, but there is something you have not considered. She looked at all of us. Lucy's opinion, she turned to my granddaughter. Lucy, you are 16 years old. You are old enough for your opinion to have legal weight. What do you want? Lucy stood up, with trembling legs, but with a firm voice. I want to stay with my grandpa. I know he's old. I know he might get sick. But he takes care of me. He listens to me. He respects me. My mom only sees me as a burden, as something she has to tolerate. I don't want to live like that. I prefer to be with someone who truly loves me, even if it's for a short time, than with someone who only keeps me out of obligation. Her words resonated in the room. The judge wrote it down. Audrey stood up. Lucy, that's not true. I love you. Lucy looked at her with tears. No, Mom, you don't love me. You don't. And I don't need you anymore. Audrey turned pale. She sat down as if she had been hit. The judge closed the folder. I have made a decision, but first, I want to say something. She looked at all of us. This case has made me reflect on what it means to be a family, on what it means to care, and on what it means to love. She paused. Mrs. Audrey has a legal right to her daughter. That is indisputable. But the legal right does not always coincide with the emotional well-being. I felt my heart beat fast. I have decided to grant legal custody to Mr. Robert Sanchez Calderon. With social services supervision every 3 months, Mrs. Audrey will have the right to visits, but only if the minor agrees. I felt as if the world stopped. Had I heard correctly? Lucy grabbed my arm. Grandpa, did we win? The judge continued. However, given Mr. Robert's age, I order that a subsidiary guardian be designated, someone who can take care of Lucy. In case Mr. Robert is no longer able to, is there anyone? Stephen stood up. Your Honor, Sally Jones, Mr. Robert's former housekeeper, has expressed her willingness to be the subsidiary guardian. The judge nodded. Perfect. Contact her for the legal procedures. She hit the gavel. Session closed. And at that moment, everything exploded. Lucy cried. I cried. Stephen smiled. And Audrey? Audrey got up and left. Without saying anything, without looking back, we left the courthouse. The sun was shining. The air was cool. And I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Victory. Not a victory over Audrey, a victory over fear, over loneliness, over the feeling that I was worthless. Lucy hugged me. "Thank you, Grandpa. Thank you for fighting for me." I hugged her tight. "I will always fight for you, my love. Always." Stephen congratulated us. "Mr. Robert, you made history. Not many grandfathers win cases like this," I smiled. "I didn't win. The truth won." And we went home, to New Hope, to that old neighborhood where I had been reborn. 6 months later, life settled down. Lucy transferred schools. Now she went to one near New Hope. She made friends. She laughed more. She slept better. Oliver was still fighting cancer. Some days he was better, others worse. But he always smiled. "Robert, if I die tomorrow, I die happy. Because I have you here, and that's more than I expected." I also smiled. Because I knew it was true. Felix kept inviting us to play dominoes. "Mr. Robert, you've already won 3 times. You're cheating," I would laugh. "I'm not cheating, I'm just good." Betty kept giving me work at the bakery. "Mr. Robert, tomorrow I need help with inventory." "I'll be there, Betty." Martha kept bringing casseroles. "For you, for the girl, and for Oliver. Don't waste them." Adam, the blind neighbor, kept coming to my history classes. "Mr. Robert, tell me about the Mexican Revolution." And I would tell him, with passion, with life. Because teaching made me feel useful. It made me feel alive. Susan visited us every month. She brought food, medicine, affection. "Brother, I'm glad to see you like this." And I was glad too. Because for the first time in years, I was not a burden. I was necessary. I mattered. And that changed everything. One afternoon, I was sitting on the porch railing. Lucy brought me coffee. "Grandpa, what are you thinking about?" I looked at her. "About your grandmother. About what she told me in her diary. Love is not blood, it is choice." Lucy smiled. "She was right." I nodded. "Yes. It took me 79 years to understand it. But now I understand it." Oliver came out. With the newspaper, he sat next to me. "What are you talking about?" "About love, about family, about choices," he smiled. "Good conversations." Betty walked by on the street. "Mr. Robert, tomorrow at 7 o'clock. I raised my hand. "I'll be there." And at that moment, looking at Lucy, at Oliver, at Betty, at that neighborhood that had welcomed me with open arms, I understood something. I had won, not against Audrey, but against abandonment, against loneliness, against the idea that getting old was disappearing. And if you who are listening to my story ever felt disposable, if you were ever told you were a burden, if you were ever rejected by those who claim to love you, I want you to know something. You are not alone. I went through that too. And I survived, not because I was strong, but because I found people who chose me, people who saw me, people who loved me without asking me to apologize for existing. And you too can find those people. That chosen family, that place where you matter. Don't give up. Don't stay quiet. Don't let yourself be erased, because you are worthy. Even if no one tells you, even if no one shows you, you are worthy. Have you ever been rejected by those who claim to love you? Tell me below. You are not alone if this story touched your heart. Leave me your like and subscribe. Every day I share stories that could be yours. Thank you for making it this far, really. See you in the next story.